You are now listening to Ride With Me, the Flat Tire Andy podcast.
So good morning. Today is Saturday, May 30, 2020, almost noon. I'm going forward. I'm going to be saying the date because who knows when I'm going to post this episode. Today in the studio, I can say studio because my boys aren't in here. Today in the studio, we have Wooden Hat Ed.
Flat Tire Andy Studio in beautiful La Puente, California. Thank you for having me.
No problem, boss. Just thought I'd bring you along, get to talk to you for a little while and get to know each other a little better and just see where it goes, man.
Great honor. Really happy to be a guest on this up-and-coming podcast that's going to shoot right up the top in Apple and Spotify and whatever else is out there.
Don't take my son's job, Ed. That's his ending.
Hey, I need a job soon, so I'm gonna keep plugging myself.
We're gonna get you to start doing traffic reports and
Sure,
and weather.
sure. All the flat tires all over LA. So yeah. Traffic report on the hour, on the top of the hour, bottom of the hour, every 15 minutes.
So once this episode's done recording, I need you to stay behind and start recording some intros for the weather and the traffic, and then once they're ready, I'll cut them into the episode later.
Beautiful.
So how you doing, Ed?
You know, how long we've been doing quarantine and social distancing? It's middle of March, maybe.
I believe that's when my kids stopped going to school.
Okay.
Yes.
So everything is just a mush. The time just doesn't really have a feel before. Like today, it feels like a Saturday because you invited me over here. But otherwise, I don't know if it's Monday, Tuesday. Every day just blends in.
Yeah, we had Monday off for Memorial Day.
That's right.
And these last 4 days felt like 8 days. Just the amount of work that we had. People are still drinking beer, man. And it's like, you would think that me going to accounts and just punching in numbers on an iPad to do a sales call was easy. Nah, man. This last 4 days felt like 8 days. And I do come home and I'm beat.
So let's talk about that a little bit. So you're doing essential business, and just give me a little bit of understanding, because just from knowing you through the radio show and even just knowing ourselves as being friends for a few years, what's your day like? What time does it start? Typical day before the quarantine and today. What's that like?
Well, before the quarantine, I would start at 6 in the morning. Depending on the day, I would finish maybe 2:30, 3 o'clock.
Okay. And how far are you from the office that
I
you're
actually, my car is my office.
Oh.
So I clock in on my phone and I go to grocery stores, liquor stores, and write their order, count their inventory.
Okay.
And write them in order based on what they sold.
Now, do you have to clock in by a certain time?
As long as we clock in before 7 o'clock.
Okay.
But I like to clock in at 6. The sooner the better. My 8 hours would be 2:30. I'll be home before the kids even get home from school.
Now, if you look at grocery stores where I live, they changed their hours when the quarantine started. Now, does that make a difference for you or not really?
Not really, because managers allow me to go in.
Okay.
They'll open the door for me, or I can go through receiving.
Okay.
And but after the quarantine, they had obviously shut down a bunch of restaurants and bars.
Yep.
Where they had to lay off the salesmen that called on those restaurants and bars.
Which really sucks.
It does. So what they did was they said any bar or restaurant in Andy's territory, we're going to give him those. So as he's running his route, we'll add these accounts to his day. So now I clock in at 5 in the morning instead of 6. And instead of finishing at 2:33, I'm finishing at 4.
Oh, you're kidding me.
No. I do have to do a little more driving, and it does interfere with the time.
How big is your territory right now?
You're in it.
Okay.
I live in my territory.
Okay.
So my furthest account would be the Circle K around the corner from my house.
Oh, really?
The gasoline station right here by the 605. And I go all the way to down Valley, all the way to Azusa, there's a Target and a Rite Aid on Azusa and Amar,
Okay.
and pretty much everything in between. So from the 605 to Azusa and everything down Amar.
See, the way I heard about you on the radio show, I'm thinking you're driving this big Budweiser truck, or no, it's I'm sorry, I'm saying the wrong brand of the beer.
Yes, you are. You just
Corona.
insulted me, Ed. Budweiser is not allowed in this house. I am no, yeah.
That's not even beer anyway, right?
No, Budweiser's just water. Val has mentioned on the radio that he says I'm a driver,
You're right.
but I'm not. I'm a salesman.
See, in my mind, you're driving this big Corona truck with I don't know how many 6 packs or 24 packs of beer in your car, and you can get pulled over and jacked anytime for beer. But that's not what happens.
No. I drive my own vehicle and I go and I punch orders with an iPad.
So if you want, you can just ride a bicycle from account to account.
If the
Do
accounts
you
are
work that way?
if the accounts are nearby, yes.
That's very cool.
Yeah, so that's what I do for a living. I'm a beer salesman. My wife makes fun of me because I'm a beer salesman that doesn't drink.
Yeah, I think that's probably a good way because you don't want to drink your inventory, right?
And I have a few 12 packs in the refrigerator right here, and I don't.
Yeah.
They've been sitting there. I don't drink.
And you save it till next time you go into Valentine in the Morning studio. So yeah, hopefully the shelf life on those is good.
It's a good shelf life, and I damn well know that Brian will not turn down beer.
Or I can turn your inventory today. Maybe take a 6-pack or so.
You can take one.
So I think it's really cool you're doing the Flat Tire Indie podcast. What got you to start the podcast?
Every time we have a family gathering, Thanksgiving, Easter, Christmas, someone always brings up the fact that they heard me on the radio.
I see.
And my wife's like, "Really? Again?" Like, "No, babe, it's not me. Your cousin Carolina said she heard me, or your uncle Carlos said he heard me, and I didn't bring it up." Every event is like, "We heard you on the radio. We heard it was funny," or "We heard you on the sideshow, on the Val Show sideshow." My wife actually received a text once when Val announced that we were in the studio.
Okay.
And my wife received a text message from her cousin's wife. "Are you guys really there right now? That's so cool." And so again, every family gathering, "Hey, Flat Tire Andy, we heard you on the radio." It was my uncle Roy's idea, stating that since half of LA knows who Flat Tire Andy is, why not start a podcast? His example was, I had a rough upbringing. I had a tough 20s, and my 20s were pretty tough up until the last 10 years when I finally flipped my life around. He goes, "You have stories that people might want to listen to." That's what gave us the idea. That's what gave me the idea to start a podcast. Now, he mentioned it, and for 3 months I kind of mentioned it to other friends and kind of mentioned it to people that I knew and kind of talked about it, where one guy, Brian from CVS in Sunset and Amar and La Puente, just said, "Stop talking about it, just do it." Bought the machine, wasn't happy with the first set of microphones I bought, purchased these newer microphones because my brother-in-law, the LAPD officer, gave me one of these microphones, and I loved the way that sounded better. So I bought these other ones. And hopefully after today, the sound quality will be way better.
Well, only because Woodenhead is in the studio. But before we go there, hey, this is some serious setup you got. We don't have video feed to show the listeners what you got set up. Hey, this looks professional. This isn't for iPhones. We're using iPhone recording and mashing up sounds. This does look pretty impressive. So, walking into, even though it's in your garage, you got a nice setup there. I think this is for real, and good for you doing this. And this is episode number
5.
Number 5, and I have listened to all 4 episodes, and you're right. I do learn a little more with each one. I mean, we've been friends for going on 2+ years now, and for your age, you're really mature, and listening to your podcast and a little bit about how you grew up, I think it does giving me more insight into what made Andy what he is at the age of 38, and you're a lot mature and more wise than you appear, and I think that's great. I think that's a good way to do a podcast rather than somebody doing a podcast for no reason just because they want to hear themselves on the air. Hey, I feel that way. I think you feel that way too. But you do have a message that you want to let people hear, and I think that's a great idea.
And my intention is not to get famous, Ed. It really isn't. Like I tried to say in the first episode, and I believe the third episode was, my intention was to, have people listen to my story, and if they're going through something similar, it does get better. Life does get better. There is a light at the end of the tunnel. Again, it's something I'll get into it later on, but I did almost commit suicide 12 years ago,
Which is nuts.
which is crazy.
Thanks for not going through with it. Yeah, the world would be a sadder place without flat tire Andy.
It was a time in my life I was really depressed, but that's a different episode. Right now we're not gonna make Ed cry. But no, yeah. So like I said, my Uncle Roy is the one that kind of pushed me into making the podcast, and then because again, he's like the whole interaction that I have with Valentine in the morning, the interaction that both of us have with Valentine in the morning, and it all started as a joke, just a joke.
That is actually a good segue. So yeah, I heard your name way before. I went into the studio, made my first call, Flat Tire Andy. But I didn't know the backstory about it. Maybe we can go back and talk about how you got your nickname.
So like I tried explaining in episode 1, it was February of 14, and it was raining. I don't know if you remember the rain we had this past Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
Just as bad. Kevin was on the air saying how he had hit a pothole.
The sidekick, Kevin Mano, or
Kevin Mano,
co-host.
Co-host Kevin Mano had mentioned on the air that he had hit a pothole, and he assumed it was a flat tire, but grateful enough that it wasn't.
Okay.
When he said that on the air, I give it a minute or two, I received a flat tire. Driving on the 118, heading towards Silmar, and I heard a loud pop.
Did you hit anything?
I did not hit anything. Pulled over to the side, and yeah, my left back tire was blown.
Okay.
Pulled over, ran out really quick, changed the tire.
In the rain.
Got back in my car, and then kept driving to work. But Ed, those 5 minutes that it took me to change the tire felt like forever.
See, props to you. To know how to, first of all, to know how to change a flat tire these days, and to do it in 5 minutes.
Ed, I was in the 8th grade when I learned how to change tires.
Hopefully that was your family's car and not some stranger's car.
It was. Every time my mom had a flat tire, well, Andy, you're the oldest. Figure it out. So there I go. I know I said some stuff about my upbringing, but I'm glad those things happened, because then I was prepared for the world.
Exactly.
A simple flat tire.
Yeah.
Pulled over, changed it, but again, those 5 minutes felt like forever. I was soaked.
And you were on the freeway.
I was on the freeway with the 118 going towards Silmar.
That's not fun.
I ended up getting to work. They play music.
Okay.
In the time that it took them to play music, I managed to make it to work. And, again, back to the story. Kevin mentioned that he hit a pothole, and he was grateful it wasn't a flat tire.
Okay.
So then Valentine says, if anybody's having car trouble, give us a call, because we feel for you.
So this is maybe 7 o'clock hour.
This is about 7 o'clock hour, yes.
Okay.
Because I was clocking in at 7. Back then, I was just a relief for the company that I work for.
Okay.
So they didn't need me to clock in at 6 or 5. They come in at 7, because if we need you, then we put you to work. When Valentine said that, I kind of got the courage to give them a call, because I've been listening since 2010. 2010 when they first did the What's That Noise, and I believe the answer was a boat winch.
It was that long?
Yes,
that
sir.
contest has been
Oh,
around
yeah.
that long?
Oh, yeah. Now,
How much did they give away? $5?
oh, that was way more money, man. I tried calling and trying to guess what it was, and I couldn't get to it. So in 2010, I was staying in Newberry Park. The signal was a lot stronger.
Okay.
So I was able to listen to the show, and I got more into the show. again, went back to Oxnard, couldn't really hear him. But I've been listening.
Sure.
So when I really, really got into the show was February 2014.
Gotcha.
It gave me the courage or the confidence to give them a call. I'm like, why not? I really did receive a flat tire. And Valentine's like, what's going on, Andy? I'm like, obviously introduce myself first. My name's Andy, and I've been driving from Oxnard to Sylmar every day for work.
Okay.
When you guys mentioned about a flat tire, I ended up receiving a flat tire. So he's like, Valentine goes on, so you changed it yourself? I'm like, yes, I did. His response was, oh, you're a true American. You're a true man. I would have called AAA. And we know that Val would have called AAA.
Right.
So he, as I'm speaking to Val, I kind of hear Kevin in the background, and I ask Kevin, I asked Val, is that Kevin? He says yes. I'm like, Kevin, and he puts Kevin on the line. What's going on? And I kind of lecture Kevin like if he was like a dog, I guess.
Okay.
Like, no, Kevin, no, and you jinxed me, man. And Val goes along with it. Oh, he jinxed you, man. He jinxed you. Where Kevin responds is like, man, Andy, I'm so sorry. I don't know why, but I feel responsible for your flat tire. I'm so sorry. That was my first phone call.
I think he did jinx you.
Right?
Yeah.
Even though he doesn't believe in jinxes, I believe he truly did. After that, I just felt comfortable in calling them every time they had a topic and I could be a part of that conversation. I would call in, and whenever the conversation was over, I would remind them that I was the flat tire guy. So
The name stuck.
little by little, the name stuck because
Okay.
every time I called in, even if it was for something random because mainly my phone calls with them in the beginning were during the 5 o'clock hour.
Right.
Because back in those times, they're like, call us up if you just want to talk, just for whatever.
Yeah, and we know 5 o'clock hours is
It's-
very different than the other
Yeah.
hours, and that's the one we can get on the
So
air.
I would call and either call in to wish my daughter a birthday, and then that led into a conversation.
Right.
Then around, again, every phone call, every conversation, I remind them at the end of the conversation, oh, this is the flat tire guy.
Yeah.
And they're like, oh, so their tones would change. It's like, oh, now we know who we know who you are now. And so when I finally met them in person was about May of 2015,
Nice.
because I won tickets for the Universal Studios takeover. And this was before they were doing the Six Flags. Because
Okay.
if I'm correct, they haven't done Universal Studios since then.
Yeah, for myself being a listener since end of 2015, yeah, I don't remember Six Flags. Six Flags I do, but not the Universal City takeover.
Yeah, so yeah, and again, I won the tickets through the through the Lisa Fox because I was
Oh,
trying to win,
okay.
and I didn't. I finally won them. So when we first get to Universal Studios, they tell us where to go get your tickets or to sign in,
Right.
but it was tickets you could only win. You couldn't purchase a fifth ticket.
Sure.
So I had to kind of leave my kids behind, and I invited my friend Ish.
Andy.
I had to. I couldn't buy the fifth ticket. So I left my kids behind, babysat with a friend, my neighbor, I believe.
Okay.
And I invited my friend Ish, which he
Okay.
keeps insisting I continue to make more episodes. Here you go, Ish. Here's number 5. Ish and his wife, Erica. And so they're like, okay, so technically you're inviting us. We'll pay for gas and parking. And so, okay, cool. We get to the sign-in table, and Valentine is standing in that area.
Okay.
And I've never met him. My wife's like, go say hi. And I'm like a little high school girl. And I'm like, yeah, I don't want to go say hi. My wife said, go say hi. So I walked up to Valentine and I, shook his hand. Hey, Valentine, my name's Andy. And hey, Andy, thank you for coming. But I didn't feel the connection, I guess.
You didn't get the love.
I didn't get it. So I reminded him, this is a flat tire guy. Oh, hey. So the tone changed
Sure.
instantly. Oh, hey, thank you for coming. Oh, wow. And he was kind of busy, so he kind of pointed toward Jill and Kevin were. Go say hi to them. He insisted I go say hi to them. I walked over to Jill, and she's greeting people. I'm in line waiting for her to, now is my turn. Hi, Andy. My name's Andy. And, oh, hey, she gives me the hug. We all know Jill loves hugs.
Oh, yeah.
Gives me a hug. And then I remind her again, but this is the flat
Andy.
tire guy. And she's like, "Oh my God." And she gives me an even bigger hug. She starts signaling towards Kevin, who's up on the stage. And, and I see her hand gestures, and she's like whispering where he can understand her lips.
Right.
Flat tire guy. Kevin jumps off the stage, comes and gives me a big hug, tells me thank you for coming, pulls out 5 tickets to New Kids on the Block, says, I don't know. Yeah. I don't know if you can go to this tomorrow, but here you go. Tomorrow would have been my birthday.
Nice.
Because the event was May 1st. My birthday's May 2nd.
Okay.
So he gave me the tickets.
So you're a Taurus.
Great seats. Yes, I am. Great seats. So yeah, man. After I introduced myself to Kevin, I go back to my family, my wife and my friend and his wife, and all 3 of them are looking at me like confused, and I'm like, what's going on? He's like, they're more excited to meet you than you were to meet them.
See, this was 2014.
This is 2015.
2015. You see, you're the OG super fan because first time I called in was I think it was February of 2016. So what happened was in 2015 I got a job commuting from Irvine to Oceanside. That's 50 miles one way.
Oh wow.
So and I drive slow only because I don't want to fight traffic down I-5 freeway. So I like to take the side roads, take my time. And typically I would listen to the news every morning, but it was just getting depressing every single day. And I got to a point where, because I had just recovered from a major surgery, bypass surgery, and I needed something where I can just laugh for the whole hour and a half, just something fun, something that will not stress me out. And to this day, I don't know how I ended up at 104.3, because listening to NPR, I'm in the high 80s, 88.9, 88.3, whatever it might be. 104.3 is way down at the other end of the dial. And I'm not the guy who jumps around stations. And I
Right.
still don't know how I ended up listening to Valentine in the Morning.
Well, that's the same for everybody, really, because back in 2010, I was just switching to the channels, and there they are. Okay, they're let's see what they got. Let's see what they got going on, and it stuck. It was funny.
And you go way back 2010. Kevin wasn't even on the show then.
Kevin was
so
in the
what
show
was the show like back then?
again because I lived in Oxnard. Their signal only picked up every once in a while,
Okay.
and I was never in my car at 5 in the morning,
Okay.
6 in the morning, 7 in the morning. I really got into it 2014. Well, 2013, August of 2013, because I was spending more time in my car. So I don't really recall the 2010 through, those 4 years,
Sure.
because it was always whenever I got in my car, the station will come on.
Okay.
But now I'm driving in my car at 5 in the morning, because I have to commute from Oxnard to Sylmar.
Okay.
Now I'm really listening, and the moment again we go back to that flat tire, that got me more involved. That got me really listening. I was like, all right, because these guys they kind of I called them, and it gave me that good vibe speaking with them.
Yeah.
Now it gave me even better reason to make sure that I always left it on the station. And now where, they called me, I think, what was it, 2 years ago on my birthday.
Yeah.
I don't answer the phone, and they leave me this 2-minute voice message singing to me happy birthday, and Val mentioning how I'm part of the show because I have a nickname.
So now I'm getting jealous.
They've nicknamed me now. And it just started as me introducing myself as the flat tire guy.
Yeah, your name I heard on the radio show. I don't think anybody else had a nickname back in 2015, 2016.
No.
'Cause all the other super fans that we know, whether it's Naked Juice Erica, Rosanna, or Bus Driver Eric, Stony Dillon, those nicknames came on later.
Well, yeah, because after that, then they kind of just started. Because what
Naming
happened?
people?
Because what happened one day, they were talking about if we knew someone. This is after I went to the show, because I did go to the show. I think it was June of 2016.
Okay.
I went to the show just to sit on the couch, like they always ask you to, if you want to come sit on the couch. So I did it. I took them I took them up on their offer.
Okay.
I'm sitting on the couch. All of a sudden, they tell me, get on the mic. And I am so nervous, dude. This is how you see me right now is nothing compared to how nervous I was getting on the microphone live on the air with who knows how many people in LA are listening. He tells me to get on the air, introduce myself, introduce the kids, the wife, and then ask me about my interaction with the show.
Right.
And that day I kind of made fun of my wife's expense, you know, and I got the shitty end of the stick on the way home.
So,
but it was funny.
at least you got to get in the car and get home. She didn't drop you off.
No. I made it home. That was the first time that I got on the microphone, spoke with them, and kind of a little bit how I got the name, how I called. Kevin was
Okay.
like, "Oh, he was here to beat me up," because we go back to the whole he jinxed me stuff. You know, he jinxed me.
Sure.
So, I mean, after that, then what happened was that they were talking about on the air about, do you know someone in your family that's gotten a little fame and allowed it to get to their head?
Oh, I see.
And I think this was a few months after I went to the show.
So who spoke up? Was it Nick or Julian?
No, no, it was me. So I texted him and I said, I was once on this. I still remember the text message. Not word for word, but what it said. I remember this one time I went to a popular morning show, and you know, now I'm this big shot, kind of like in those terms, right? And I say that my wife doesn't approve of it. Within, I would say, a minute, I receive a phone call from an unknown number, and I don't really answer unknown numbers, so
Sure.
I answered it, and who was? It was Valentine.
Oh.
And saying, you know what, Andy, you're right. You are and I said I was an important asset to their show, and he responded back with saying, you're right. You are a very important asset to our show. You're the first person we nicknamed.
There you go.
And that was it. After that, then people started getting nicknames, and now this is years later. People call in and say, "Hey, we've been listening for this long. Can we get a nickname?" Now people are asking for nicknames.
Right.
It's amazing that it just started off with me saying, "Oh, this is the flat tire guy, by the way."
Yeah.
Now people are asking for nicknames.
Yeah. See, for me, it was, I believe, my 51st birthday. So even though I look really young, I'm 55 this year.
I thought you were 29.
It's the genes. It's the Asian genes. Wait till I have beer. You know, one beer Ed. Anyway, I called on my 51st birthday to let them know the reason why I was listening to the show was because in my long hour and a half drive, the show allowed me to just forget about what's going on around the world, forget about work, just laugh the whole way, just decompress and de-stress. And I told them a little bit about my surgery, and that's when Valentine said, "Oh, stop by the studio anytime you like," which I did October of 2016. So again, after Flat Tire Andy visited the studio, that was my first of many visits. And once you got there and introduced myself, and again, this is a number 1, number 2 radio show in LA.
Yes,
So
it
who
is.
knows how many listeners they got. But, you know, myself having listened to a lot of LA radio since 2000, and it turns out it's a really small circle with the on-air talents. So like half dozen people I knew from listening to other stations over the years, Valentine knew every single one of them. So even the support staff, whether it's the board op people or the call screeners, he knew every single one of them that I knew as well. So we hit off right away. And it wasn't until Valentine's birthday the following year, January of 2017, knowing that he's a big Tom Brady fan and big Patriots fan. And I found out that one of my Facebook buddy was making what looks like a baseball cap out of real wood. So he would carve out hats. And the thing was, because it's made out of wood, you have to know the head size.
Right.
So, and the time I kept direct messaging Valentine through the Facebook, the Valentine in the Morning group, I kept asking, you know, what's your hat size, without telling him what I'm trying to get. So I think he responded a couple of times. Oh, I know it's really big. I don't remember. I'm at home in Connecticut at my mom's. I'll tell you when I get back. And I'm panicking because I need to get the hat in time for his birthday in January, and I was running out of time. So I contact my buddy and said, just give me the larger size you got. And I had to rush for overnight delivery just to make the timing to bring the hat to the studio for his birthday. So I think I got like 7 7/8, 7 3/4, whatever it is. I think the shipping was as much as the cost of the hat itself.
Ouch.
So I get it at home. I open it up. It looks great, and it looks like it'll fit. And I put it on my big head. Front to back, it fits, but it's too narrow for my head. So I'm panicking and not realizing it's made of wood. I keep pulling it down on my head, thinking it'll stretch. But come on, Andy, it's made out of wood. It's not gonna stretch.
It's not gonna stretch, buddy.
So I gave up and I said, okay, I'll just bring it in. Hopefully it'll fit. If it doesn't fit, it'll be something that he has a
Trophy.
And it was just before Super Bowl, whatever number that was, and Patriots were playing, I think the following week or the week after. And as luck would have it, when I brought the hat, Valentine puts it on. There's a photo that he took of us together, which was nice of him. And it looked like it kind of fit. And the fact that the Patriots won it was a big comeback win that they had to win. So that was like a big, good luck symbol, good luck charm. So, I think that made it more memorable. It's not like every other day some random guy walks into the studio with a hat made out of wood that looks like, birthday cake.
And hashtag Wooden Hat Ed was born.
Wooden Hat Ed was born. I think it was probably Kevin who gave the nickname. And I didn't know they had given me that name until I was listening to the show maybe a week or two after, I dropped the hat off. And Valentine, I think, was talking to Jill. He goes, I was direct messaging Wooden Hat Ed and blah, blah, blah. I'm going, Wooden Hat Ed? Wait, is that me? Is that who they're talking about? Wooden Hat Ed? So I start, direct messaging Val right away saying, yeah, I love the name, all this. And I think it was a couple of days later on the show, he was saying, Ed really likes his nickname. I think we're really glad we gave him the nickname, and the name stuck, and that was in 2017. But again, not the OG superfan number 2 after Flat Tire Andy.
Well, I might be the super fan, but I think I want to be dethroned if Stony Dillon gets that tattoo.
With a letter V, which could stand for anything. I mean, it could be Roman numeral 5.
I challenge him to get the entire initials.
I heard that. I heard that.
So we'll see if he does. If he does it, I'm gonna need a wooden hat for him.
Well, Rosanna may have to fight him off because she's up there being the top super fan. So we'll see what happens.
We'll see if he gets it done. I think he said June 6th. He's in it. Next Saturday, he's in it.
Next Saturday.
Get a tattoo.
Now, speaking of hearing ourselves on the show, because you're friends, you tell people that you're on the air from time to time, and you want people to hear about it. But I remember I think it was June of 2018, I was on the way to Santa Cruz to pick up my daughter, and me being cheap, my daughter wants me there at 10 in the morning, so I gotta sleep overnight on my way, but too cheap to get a hotel. So typically what I do is somewhere along I-5, I'll stop at a rest area, sleep there, and then get an early start, 5, 6 o'clock in the morning, to drive back up to Santa Cruz. So one morning, I had gone to McDonald's. It was near Lost Hills, maybe. Got out. I had used the facilities, and I started listening to the show on the iHeart Radio app because there's no signal for 104.3 in Lost Hills.
Right.
And I'm listening, and I think it was Brian who was actually, maybe it was Val, talking to you, Andy, on the show. And he goes, Wooden Hat Ed was in the studio again. It's like, I'm the number one super fan, and he keeps coming back in. And it's like, he's trying to wedge his way in to be super fan number one. I can't compete with him. I can't compete. And I'm thinking, 6 in the morning, I'm going, wait, maybe I'm hallucinating. Did Andy really say Wooden Hat Ed? Nah, I don't think I heard it right. I'm probably still half asleep.
I honestly don't remember the conversation that morning, but it was. I think we ended the conversation with, "I gotta start coming by the studio more often, and not let you."
And
You
what
know,
did your wife
I
say?
gotta catch up to you because my wife's like, dude, he's gonna take your number one spot.
But it's not a contest.
But it's not a contest. That's right. But it's not a contest. And so yeah, I made that comment, and then our first interaction or when we met was the Knots Takeover that
Not to take
2017,
over. Yep.
and we all took a group photo with Valentine,
Just
Jill,
like we are the
Kevin,
world.
and they made us do a pose like if we're gonna weigh ourselves for the UFC,
There you go.
and then Val commented on the photo stating, "This is the way every superhero movie should end." So yeah, I mean, it wasn't nothing. It's just, again, whenever I say anything on the radio, is to try to get a chuckle, or if I can get one person to laugh, I did it. If I can get one person to laugh listening to my episode at least one time, I did it. That's the way I feel even doing my job. If I can walk into an account and this guy is the most bitterest person, if I can get him to chuckle at least a little, then I know that my sales call is going to be great.
Exactly.
That's just who I am. It took me a while to get there, but that's who I am.
So to me, it was like, breaking the fourth wall. They talk about fourth wall, like they talk about in the TV show when the TV star is talking back to the camera. Knowing that there's other fans out there, and we started interacting off the show, whether it was through Facebook or Instagram. So we started developing.
Now you're
a
at my
friendship.
house.
Now I'm in your house during the waning stages of the lockdown at the beautiful Flat Tire Andy studio. Yeah, and I think we found out all the things that we had in common, whether it's the Cowboys or
Yeah.
Star Wars or, I think if people just saw us on the street, we couldn't be any more different. But we have so much more in common than the differences.
And yeah, that, like, when you started following me on Instagram and Facebook, again, it was this so-called rivalry for number one spot, where you're like, what? You love Star Wars? What? You love the Cowboys? It was kind of like that Step Brothers moment. Did we just become best friends?
Exactly. And I think we'd like to give off the impression that there is a rivalry and competition, but we're friends.
Yeah, we are. We are. And again, and today you show up with a gift, and I wasn't expecting it. So should I call you Troy Aikman Jersey Ed, or Ed brings me a Troy Aikman jersey from, what school is this?
UCLA.
How old is this jersey?
Well, I don't know how old the jersey is, but I know when I saw that, and I was actually traveling in Korea when I saw that jersey. They sell a lot of jerseys in Itaewon. That's where a lot of the U.S. military goes shopping.
Of course.
So they sell a lot of jerseys. And it was too big, but, I being a huge Cowboys fan, and when I saw a Troy Aikman UCLA jersey, I had to buy it.
Of course.
I've never worn it since, but when you and I talked about it yesterday about coming to the show, and I asked you who your favorite fan was,
And I happened to say Troy Aikman.
I was like, this was meant to be. I got to bring it over to Flat Tire Andy.
Man, it's a beautiful jersey, man. Thank you. Thank you. And I noticed your car. Do you have that bad boy decked out with Star Wars? I mean,
Darth Vader everywhere.
obviously, the dark side?
Yeah,
Julian loves the dark side.
and that's the only side.
Yeah. So you are obviously a big Star Wars fan.
Yeah.
Okay, there's a lot of mixed reviews about the last few Star Wars, these newer Star
There have
Wars. Again, my point of view, they're a movie. Do they have similarities to the first ones? Yes. But it was the first movies that I watched in theaters.
Okay.
Force Awakens, I told the wife, if we're going to go watch The Force Awakens, these kids need to be caught up.
Yep.
Because I don't need them asking me who a Darth Vader is during the movie.
Exactly.
And so we watched them all. By the time we got I mean, obviously in order. Phantom Menace, that's the order.
Yep.
We didn't go 70s, then back to 90s. So we went Phantom Menace, Clones, Sith, A New Hope. When we got to A New Hope, my daughter, who was, I believe, 13 at the time, she said, Dad, I thought these movies were for nerds. She loved them. She's like, it has everything. Now the boys, again, they got so into the movies that you can ask them a question. I mean, too bad they're not in here right now. But you asked them a question and they'll have the answer. Julian got into the dark side. So for his birthday, after watching these movies, he wanted a dark side party. So there my wife is making everything themed dark side. She got those floaty devices from the pools, those worm things, what are they called?
The noodles.
Noodles. She bought all these red ones.
Wait a second.
Yeah, I'll show you pictures later. She took all these red noodles and she taped a handle to them, and there we got all these kids running around with dark lightsabers, and then obviously the adults ish again, and I are running around chasing the kids, and my wife's like, "Dude, these were for the kids."
When was this?
This was,
What was my invitation?
dude, we didn't know you back then. This was a few years back. This is my son. He's 11 now. When did The Force Awakens come out? 3 years ago? 4 years ago?
Probably maybe 4 years ago.
Okay,
yeah.
so about 4 years ago. And then so 6 months later comes Nicholas's birthday. Well, I want a dark side. I want a light side party. So there again, my wife is making everything themed Star Wars. Now she's using green and blue and purple noodles, and she creates this Death Star
Nice.
piñata out of a beach ball. Where the
She made it?
Yes, sir. She made it. Death Star out of a beach ball.
You got to show
She
me a
did the
picture.
paper mache and all that good stuff.
Nice.
And the point of that was for the Jedi's,
Right?
which was Nick,
To blow it up.
to blow it up.
You got to be kidding me.
So she made him the stick, and she made it look like a lightsaber. So when he swung at it and broke it, it looked like it blew up,
Nice.
and the candies fell to the floor.
Nice.
So their room, I believe I showed you pictures of the room. They're
Yeah.
so into Star Wars that all their Lego sets are Star Wars. And the other day I was listening to a podcast. I forgot the name of it.
About Star Wars?
About Star Wars. Newcomers.
Okay.
It's a Star Wars podcast where these two ladies have never watched Star Wars,
Come on.
and they're commenting on the movie as they're watching it. And so my little one Julian is outside listening to it with me because I was barbecuing. It was Monday. I was barbecuing ribs for
Okay.
Memorial Day, and my son was kind of catching in and kind of paying attention and listening to it, and he was done. He went in the house and he was complaining to my wife. What's going on, mijo? Dad's listening to a podcast about Star Wars. Okay, what's wrong? Those ladies don't know nothing about the show. They don't know anything about Star Wars. They called R2D2 the gold guy, or 3CPO the gold guy,
Gold
and
guy?
R2D2 a trash can.
Trash can?
Yeah. He
That's
was
sacrilegious.
he was so upset. He didn't even want to come outside anymore until I finished listening to the episode.
Were they trying to be funny?
I'll let you listen. I'll let you be the judge of that. Newcomers, Star Wars. That's the podcast.
Clickbait, maybe?
It's apparently these two ladies that have never watched it,
Yeah.
and they're kind of, talking about it. But he got so offended when they called R2D2 a trash
I
can.
don't blame him. And you said this was Julian or Nick?
Julian.
Yeah.
Nick was inside. He likes to help out in the kitchen, but Julian was outside with me.
Okay.
He was so offended listening to that podcast.
We'll make sure your boys get the picture with the Darth Vader
With Darth
helmet
Vader
and the
in the
in front
car?
of the car.
In the vehicle.
Get their lightsabers out or whatever else. They
Oh,
wanna
those are
get out.
gone, boss. Those are gone. They should be in here somewhere. See the little Star Wars. Oh, there you go. Star Wars stuff right there in that tote.
I see it. I
Yeah,
see
that's
it.
for the party.
Yeah.
So, Ed, again, man, thank you for coming. Thank you for the jersey. Thank you for being here and your drive over here. And
Can't come empty-handed, and you're the OG super fan, and I gotta pay my respect. Hope it was worthy of giving you the proper respect, and I'm glad you like it.
I love it, man. I'll probably wear it today.
We'll put it on and take a photo for people to see.
All right, man. Again, Ed, thank you for coming. And any last words? Anything you have to say? Some of our fans, not our fans, oops. Some of the Valentine in the Morning listeners, or your daughters.
This is a 1210 traffic update. There's flat tire causing signal alert on every single freeway on the way. 605 to 10 to 405 to 5. Everybody, stay off the freeways because there are flat tires everywhere. No wooden hats, but flat tires everywhere. This is Tony Jordan signing out.
Oh my God.
Actually, Tony Jordan's cousin Wooden Head signing off.
Oh my goodness.
Be safe. Signing off.
Oh my goodness.
Be safe out there.
Everybody. All right, guys. Thank you for listening.
Thank you for listening to Ride With Me, the Flat Tire Indie Podcast. You can also listen to us on iTunes, Spotify, and Podbean.